And we're back. Another episode. Wait, I don't know if I'm. Are we back? Yeah, we're back. Another episode of
We're back.
the AC Milan Zone podcast. Welcome back, Ozzy. Unfortunately, not another great one. We remain winless in the Champions League after a defeat against the German champions, Bayern Leverkusen. Not a bad game, honestly. If you take the other Champions League game, the terrible defeat against Liverpool, nothing to take away from that game except for despair and sadness and potentially Fonseca getting fired. This one, honestly, not a bad performance. Probably deserved at least a draw, at least in my book. We come out just short in Germany. A difficult game. What did you think? Just general overview.
Yeah, general overview of the game. I think you're right in saying we could have come away with a draw or at least deserved one. We'll go into why we didn't get a draw further on into the podcast in the episode, but not as terrible as, for example, the Liverpool game. You're completely right. A lot to work on still, obviously, but the high of the Inter derby, the Milan derby, has gone now a bit, and Lecce um, was a great game for us as a result, but a lot of hate on social media about Milan. I generally think we had an all right game.
Yeah, I think if you walk away with that with 1 point, nobody says anything. Um, they pressed a lot, and we were able to get out of the press a fair amount. We obviously had points of the game when we were struggling on the defensive end and conceding a lot of chances. I don't think we started off too well. I saw a lot of our followers on Instagram also talking about how perhaps we expected too much by Leverkusen and sort of fell back. Maybe there's a little bit of truth to that. I think also, they're very aggressive, they're very physical. So sometimes it's us, sometimes it's also them. It's hard to keep that up for 90 minutes, and they didn't. We saw that towards the second part of the first half, and then the end of the game, of course. But already at the end of the first half, we came out a little bit because you can't just press and go all out for that much. But yeah, we came out of the press a little bit. We created chances. Probably should have gone a goal. Conceded a little bit. Definitely, they deserve to score probably at least one, and they had a few more chances, but not the terrible defensive display against a great offensive team with a lot of weapons.
Absolutely.
Not as bad as we've done in the beginning of the season in other games. We saw Morata benched, not feeling 100%. The rest of the formation sort of stayed the same as the last few successes. It's clear to me that Fonseca's sort of found at least a stable lineup that kind of plays the football that he wants to play, and he's sticking with that, probably rightfully so. Remains to be seen how much he will hurt us going forward, because if we have only 11 players that we can count on, it gets a little difficult. But I thought we did well. I'm sure enough for me the ratings from FOTMob, I don't particularly agree with some of these. Obviously, ratings in games like this is always hard to tell when nobody scores. They have Loftus-Cheek at 7. I think for me he was maybe the worst player on the pitch. A lot of people say Chuk. A little bit unfair to get just a few minutes. To me, he did not play great, but he tried to make something happen. Right now, it's a little bit concerning for us, the Loftus-Cheek point, and we talked about this in the last podcast, and I'll hand it over to you in a second. But to me, the big difference is that role. The cam role isn't sorted. Morata is playing a better cam, even though some people call it a 4-4-2, some people call it a 4-2-4. But, the second striker that plays behind the first, he's playing better, not because he's a better cam than Loftus-Cheek can be, but simply because he tries harder. And Loftus-Cheek,
and I agree,
is big, and he could throw his body around. We don't need him to be, prime Pogba. We just need him to try harder and be physical. And he right now isn't going out his way to do so. And we play with a man down, or half a man down when he starts there. And if we can count on him to be at least a decent sub, we're in trouble because we don't have a lot of those players that could fill in. To me, that was the biggest hole. I don't know. What do you think? Where did you see that we maybe lacked the little bit of edge that could have pushed us to a draw or maybe to challenge for a win?
Yeah, no, I think I agree with your assessment of what is Ruben Loftus-Cheek. I think he had, when he first came to Milan, he had a bit of an impact. He seemed like, he was keen, he was eager, a bit sort of like Tammy Abraham is now, fresh into a team and really tries. But that's completely gone. I'm not sure what's happened to him because we saw that sort of, I guess he wasn't playing a central attacking midfielder then against PSG, but at least in the beginning of the season, I thought we'd see sort of this box to box, sort of machine, played physical, had a good touch, read the game well, could distribute passes when needed, and come up with a solid defensive work. But now he's sort of trapped in this no man's land where we don't know how to define him. The lack of trying isn't there. So I agree. And with the foot mob scores, yes, it looks like he's green. He's got a 7.0, but I don't know how FootMob rates these players. It's just statistics. Um,
Yeah, it was probably about
was
percentage
yeah,
passes complete or something like
yeah,
that.
exactly. Yeah, and I saw online there was a lot of hate on Rangers. Yes, should he have done better with that one chance? Maybe we'll get onto it later. Sure, but uh, overall, Emerson Royale wasn't great again.
Yes. Yeah, Reinders had a massive chance. Look, should have done better. Doesn't even do badly in the end. He was alone, waits for the defender, sends the defender to the bar, and then shoots with his weak foot when he had it on his strong foot. I think looking back, I was trying to figure out what he was thinking. I think he just didn't realize and probably couldn't believe that it was that close to goal and no one was there. I think
Yeah,
to me, obviously, I don't know what's in his head, but to me, he gets the ball there and he doesn't shoot because he's anticipating a defender standing in front of him or tackling him. And so he kind of stops, and then sees no one's coming, turns, sees the defender, fakes him out, and then shoots with his left. Um, yes,
yeah. I
unlucky.
guess maybe he was waiting for another defender to come in, and so he was waiting for a dummy, but
Yeah,
then nobody
yeah,
came. So he's like, "Oh,
yeah. I think that's
it's
definitely the
time to
case.
shoot," and it's a
Yeah,
scuff shot.
it's very unfortunate because you don't get any better than that. Beautiful pass by Pulisic on that
Yeah.
to lead up to that. Yeah, it hurts. We've been a bit better about finishing our chances, but yeah, that's the Tammy one, which isn't exactly the same, but kind of the same build up to it with a beautiful pass that's through and you're off to the side, but really close to goal. Just have to put it away. But yeah, I mean, you can't. If there's one person you can't be upset in this start of the season as a whole, is Tijani Reinder. So what are you gonna do? Of course, he has to put it away. He just does. But can be upset. Yeah, Emerson Royale does not shine. It hurts a lot after seeing. I don't know if you watched the Juve game or at least the highlights. In a terribly officiated game where you've had injuries and red cards and all sorts. Kalulu, man, what a player!
Yeah,
Just great.
yeah, and it hurt me even more seeing, was it last night or this morning when he posted on Instagram. I think the rough translation from Italian was, "This is what it means to be uh, uh, white and black."
Yeah,
Obviously, a Bianconero, being a Juve player, and that kind of hurts. I know it's just social media. I'm sure it was a social media team that posted it for him, but I think, was it Gazzetta dello Sport? Was it you who sent me the link? Was that, I think, I don't know if it was a joke or not, but rated Kalulu as a two, and then in the description of why they rated him as two was, "This isn't actually Pierre Kalulu's grading. This is to the management of AC Milan. How on earth could you let him go?" Or
yeah,
rather, buy Emerson Royale and loan Kalulu out.
yeah, yeah. That
Yeah,
makes
it's no zero. It actually makes zero sense, and
yeah,
I'm getting a bit emotional and angry right now. How on earth do you look at a player like Pierre Kalulu, someone that you've developed, who's come from zero expectations, right? He came for like 450,000 euros,
yeah,
whatever it was, from Lyon's under 21s. Yes, granted, he was a starting under 21s player for France and a captain, even if I'm not mistaken. Comes into Milan, first season, bit meh, grows into it. Obviously, a bit of injuries, and sort of not getting regular playing time. But then you decide to go for someone like Emerson Royale, eh, eh, and loan out this young, promising player that we've sort of he bleeds black and red
Yeah,
at
for
this
the
point
same amount of
nowadays.
money, the guy helped you win the Scudetto because he had to, because he was throwing into walls. Yeah, and someone who can play both positions, can play center back, and can play right
Yeah,
back, a right back role that we needed when we also don't have a lot of money. So that extra 15 mil that we spent on Emerson could go somewhere else. Yeah, that hurts. I've seen a lot of
yeah.
that obviously today. I've also seen an interesting thought, which I wanted to get your thought on because I'm so focused on how bad Loftus-Cheek seems to be. Not even bad, but just, not present and not trying. I saw a couple things. Well, maybe who's a physical cam who could do well as kind of a second striker, but could also be box to box. Maybe Charles de Catelare. Now
I
I've
saw
always had
that
a soft
tweet or
spot,
that.
even though
Yeah.
it didn't work out and probably wouldn't have worked out in the end. But what do you think about playing the way that we play with
It on
CDK?
paper it looks like the perfect match. I don't think CDK's fault at Milan was necessarily lack of trying, was it? I mean, whenever he played, it seemed like he at least tried a lot, ran around, chased
Yeah, I
balls,
think it
and
was
it
more
just
mental than
the
anything.
end, yeah, mental, and the end quality wasn't there for some odd reason, and Pioli decided, let's not
Yeah, I think
let's
he
not
got caught
pursue
in
this
in,
anymore
in a
after.
lot of things, and then perhaps it wasn't quite the quality that a stage like Milan, in terms of not where we were, he was fine compared to other players, but just the general big expectations that a club like ours has. Um, but yeah, if you look at that and you're like, okay, well, the team that we had today is great, except we maybe are missing someone on proper cam, and our right back leaves to wonder, and you're like, well, you had both, right there. You had CDK that could slot in there, and you had Kalulu who could slide right in there. Um, it kind of hurts to see. Um, Before we get to our subs, because I think that's an interesting conversation about where do we go from here. We're gonna need to start rotating some players. Who do we trust? If we don't trust Loftus-Cheek, if we don't trust maybe Chukwueze. Let's talk about the refereeing. Um, Obviously, I think it's fair to
Oh,
say extremely poor refereeing. Where do
yeah,
you land? I see a lot
Swiss
of
as
people
well.
saying that we got screwed out of that game. Um, I see a lot of people saying that it was
Yeah,
bad, but not the key factor. What do you think? Where do you land?
yeah. I mean, I think there was a clearer penalty shout for the Tammy Abraham situation. Maybe we'll go into that later. Maybe I shouldn't go too detailed now, but yeah, I think overall it was poor refereeing. Where we screwed, I think, with the amount of decisions that didn't go our way. Absolutely, it would have changed the course of the game.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't the odd handball shout, like
Yeah.
yes, of course that could change the course of the game if it's a penalty, but you know what I mean. It was this sort of constant from the get go, and just uh, strange decisions, yellow cards flown towards us, but not. I think we got, was it three, four? No, we got three yellow cards. They only got two. Um, what's his name? Tabsoba, the number 12,
Yeah.
sort of their right back, or yeah, right central back. He should have gotten sent off, I think, in the end. F- I don't know if you wanted to show any videos,
Yeah. I'll play it now.
or I
So
can I can
no. We
continue.
are playing it now. So right now we're actually
Yeah,
watching the video.
exactly. That's the first. I mean, it's not. Yeah, no. I mean, he I don't know if the referee didn't see it, but it's not like a full on, sorry, pub pub fight, but
Yeah,
it's
like he
it's up
doesn't.
to the face, and it's
Yeah.
got nothing to do with the ball. It's got absolutely zero.
Yeah. In front of the
Uh,
referee.
yeah, yeah, and I don't know. I think that's VARable, is it not? Like, it's straight to the face, and you can
So
argue whether it would hurt that much, but
I'm not positive about this because I tried to look it up, but I think the issue, a lot of people are like, well, how's this not at least a yellow? I think if when they looked back at it, they probably would agree it was a yellow. I'm not sure that VAR can go back and give and say, hey, this is a yellow. I
no,
think
no, no, no. Of course not. Of course
VAR
not.
can
No, they can't give a
intervene.
yellow after.
Yeah, can intervene and say, okay, you made a mistake, you need to send him off or let it go. He gets a stern talking to, but it's pretty ridiculous.
Yeah,
He totally doesn't
I
even
I I
doesn't look
generally
at the
think that's
ball.
a
The
red.
referee's right there. He looks at his face. I've seen people get
It's
sent off
nothing.
for this. I just have.
Yeah, no, I think I'm relating. Of course, it's two different refereeing bodies, but I'm thinking back to, this is quite niche, the Southampton Newcastle game in the very, I think the first game of the season, where one of the Southampton players comes square up with Fabian Schär, and they do, the classic football thing where they interlock foreheads for
Yeah,
a
touch
bit and have
foreheads.
a bit
Yeah,
of, and then Schär, I don't think it's even Schär, but the Southampton player nudges him like this, literally like a half a centimeter, and then throws himself down. VAR reviews it and gives Share the red.
yeah,
And if that's the contact, then any contact, regardless whether it's an elbow, it's a foot, it's the hand, that should be a red card. But if you look at this is a this that had nothing to do with football. Obviously, trying to stop the advance of Theo Hernandez, I think every
yeah,
defender in the world want to stop that. So obviously, there's some football into it. It's not like
yeah. But it
the
wasn't
ball
even a
is
foul
dead
in
and
real
they're
time.
having a fight. Yeah, no, it's just bizarre and it's just inconsistent of decisions. And then this is one of the decisions. We've spent
Yeah,
3 minutes talking about one.
yeah. I mean, I would agree with you. I think if they see, even by a fan and in the team, if they see him sent off for that, I don't think they're looking back and be like, wow, this is out of nowhere. And for sure, at the very least, a yellow 20 minutes on for one of their three center backs would have been big.
Yeah, and it
Other,
wasn't his only big foul.
no, it was not.
Like this one's probably the worst one, so to say, with the most egregious one, where you think, how is that not a yellow? And then he could have picked up a few other yellows, I think, or at
Yeah,
least accumulated to another yellow. You
yeah,
know?
for sure. Another one we're showing right now is the layout. Now, this is a very much smaller decision, but to
Yep.
me was very indicative because, I mean, another thing to look back on, like you were talking about, if you remember last year when Tomori got sent off and got a penalty and got sent off on Mason Mount, uh, I mean, it's a lot less holding than this. And this is
Yeah.
again same center back that we just talked about, Tapsoba, who fouled on that. So this again, not even called a foul, nothing. And look,
Yep.
Leao sometimes goes down easy. I'll be the first one to admit. Let me rewind back the video and show it again. But he's not even he's not looking at the ball. Look at his face.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
loses
Yeah.
track of the ball now, and now he's just focus on Leao, both arms around him, grab him with both hands. Not even a foul. And this could have been another yellow. Now we come to
Yep.
the penalty shot that you were talking about. Tammy Abraham dribbles quite well into the box. Again, if you think about the Mason Mount penalty that led to a red card against last year against Tomori, this is so much more contact than that.
Yeah, and Abraham was in control of the ball there until Tapsoba tries to come across him.
Yeah.
There,
And
he was
Tapsoba
in
does
control of
not
the
touch
ball.
the
Now
ball
not
at
anymore.
all.
No, he's not even near. It's not really. He's not even really going for it necessarily.
No.
Like he's not even stretching out his leg too much. He's literally just running straight, sort of diagonally into Tammy Abraham. I don't understand how I shouldn't say football's gone soft, but with how with how little contact is nowadays given for a penalty, how that isn't a penalty is beyond me.
Yeah, I totally
He's
would
through on
agree.
goal
And this
there.
is the third big foul. I think the first one was enough to send him off. This is the third big foul on
Yeah,
Tapsoba that would have led also
yeah,
to a penalty. And then
yeah,
the final decision, the chair and the cake on Ruben Loftus-Cheek. This is right at the dying end of the moment. I'll roll it. It looks a little bit soft, but there's definitely contact. And then you see
it
these
does.
replays, and you see obviously stomp on
Yeah,
his foot. That's foot on foot. You can discuss if it's outside of the box or not in the box.
sure. Yeah,
It looks like it's on the line or maybe on the outer part of the line, so maybe just out or just in. This is maybe the best angle that you'll see. You'll see that foot coming down.
yeah.
But
Just nothing given at all.
yeah,
Like had he gone
nothing.
for
And
a free
again, I
kick,
don't know
I'd be
how
like, sure,
VAR
at least it was
doesn't
out.
check. Doesn't check it.
It
We saw
makes it even
Fonseca
worse
right
that
after the game complain. I
yeah,
think that's good in general. I don't like the complaining too much, but it's just like a letting whiff. I know. Plus, I don't know, just rallying the troops a little bit. It's almost like he's
yeah.
talking more for his players than anything else.
Yeah,
Um,
and I think this brings it back to the debate of the Champions League. I know it should be open for everyone in terms of teams all around Europe. Sure, I completely agree with that. But the refereeing standard, this guy comes from the Swiss league, and actually having been to a Swiss game on Saturday, I can tell you that There was Servette against Lausanne, the Derby of the Lake here in the French speaking part. The football quality is worse and so much slower. And so the referees, right? I mean, referees could be better referees than the footballers are footballers, but it's getting to that groove, and yeah, I'm lost for words actually. I'm getting quite sound quite angry because I am, but it's the standard across a lot of games as well, right? Because there were some strange decisions in the Juve game, the one
Yeah, the Juve
the
game was pretty
highlights I've
bad too.
seen. Yeah, and I'm not sure, it doesn't matter necessarily where the referee is from. I'm not trying to be a bigot here, but the quality of, when it comes to a Bayer Leverkusen Milan game and they throw in a Swiss referee,
Yeah,
that
I mean,
that's also bizarre. And I'm
yeah,
yeah,
it also
sorry.
says a lot that, I mean, not that the statistics, you live and die by this because obviously you need to look at the actual football and see what happens. But 15 fouls committed by Leverkusen, 4 committed by us, 2 yellow cards for them, 3 for us. Again, not that the statistics live and die because obviously you need to see the fouls, but it's huge. And
But
it, I think,
we saw three fouls from the same player there, and he didn't get a single yellow,
yeah, which is mental.
a single yellow.
And I think all of those are game-changing decisions. Again, I don't think in the end we'd lose just because of the referee, but I think we did get robbed of maybe at least a point. I'm not saying we win or we lose, but the draw maybe does happen. And I think what's most important, specifically the stats that I just quoted, Bayer Leverkusen presses high, which means when you break the press, you see it's tactical foul every time because they know if you break the press, you're off on a counter and never numbers.
Yeah,
So the tactical fouls is there every time. So when you don't start calling that, which happened a lot to us. I mean, a few times they counter off of the fouls that we just saw. We almost conceded when Loftus-Cheek got fouled for what should have been a penalty, and it wasn't called. But then book us for fouls, all of a sudden it impacts the game a lot because they can press, because they can foul, and we can't.
yeah,
And it's been a problem for us. I mean, I think we in general we saw that we missed in aggressiveness. This is what we criticize player like Loftus-Cheek. Well, when you press, then you go for it and you take either the ball or the
yeah,
man. And what Morata said the first game against Torino, say, hey, we need to work, we need to be more aggressive, we need to make more fouls. It's something that Fonseca also wants, and we're trying to work to. But then it doesn't work if the referee doesn't allow you to do that on an equal footing. The same call should go both ways. So I think that impacted the game a lot and was quite unfortunate. Yeah, let's hope it doesn't happen again because now we're at a point where in our Champions League journey, it's bad obviously to start with 2 losses. In the previous format, it would have been, maybe doomsday.
I would have. Yeah,
Not so much now. I think most experts are saying with 9 points you're through, not automatically, but to the playoffs, as they call them. But no more room for error. So we have Club Brugge home next. That becomes almost a must-win. Then we have Real Madrid in Spain. I don't think anyone expects us to win that. Any point
no,
is
even
welcome.
though even though Real Madrid slipped up,
Yeah,
and
and they've had some
sorry to
injuries.
be, I shouldn't say jumping all around, but talking about the Real Madrid Lille game, Thiago Santos, the player that we were interested in earlier in the
Yeah,
transfer
I
season,
watched a good chunk of that. Yeah.
yeah, he had a pretty good
Speaking of
game.
Emerson Royale not being good enough, yeah, that would have
Yeah,
been great. And I think Fonseca, according to rumors, wanted him, and yeah,
yeah,
also didn't happen.
ultimately,
He looks very good. It's upsetting. I
yeah.
understand that maybe they wanted some more defensive for the right side, given Teo's on the other side, but yeah,
It's, not Emerson Royale.
another
He's nothing.
hindsight poor choice.
Yeah,
But yeah, the Real Madrid game, any point is welcome. Not expected, definitely. Then
because
we
you
go
said it's in
to
Madrid.
That's in Madrid, yeah. Then we
Yeah,
go to
yeah,
against Slovan Bratislava away from home. Again, must win, but you go there and make it easy when they're not a great team, but this is the first time they will go and fight and they will fight for
yeah.
that point.
And it'll
Um,
be, when will it be? Like mid-November, harsh conditions, probably poor pitch.
26th of November, yeah, cold, just
26th
brutal,
of
yeah.
November. Yeah, exactly.
3 games after Milan Juve as well. So pretty tough. And then we have Red Star, which looked awful in Milan in December. So that also needs a must
Yeah.
is a
The
must
ret-
win.
is that the return of Krunic?
Yes, that's the Ritorno Rade Krunic, yeah, which I could already see a goal. And then we finish with Girona, who's to say what that will be in Milan, and then Dinamo Zagreb. So, you know, accounting them, we probably don't win the Madrid game. You need to win against Bruges. You need to again win against Bratislava, and then, you know, Red Star, Girona. Maybe you can afford not, and then Dinamo Zagreb in Zagreb. Yeah, I mean, look, it's doable. If you want to, you know, if you tell me, hey, you need to go through the next round of Champions League by beating Bratislava, Red Star, Bruges, and Girona, you say, yeah, this is kind of how the competition works. If you don't win those, you
Yeah.
don't expect it. But yeah, it doesn't give a lot of room for error. The Liverpool game was always going to be tough. We played terrible. We deserved to lose more than we did. So that's in the books. It would have
Yeah,
been
but
nice
who
to get a
knows?
low point
Had we
here.
had we played against Liverpool now, like sort of after the Derby win and the Lecce win, it would have been a different story.
It would have been a different
For
story.
example,
We probably
could have
lose
been
anyway, though. I don't know.
Mignon's back to his Scudetto winning season level. I think
Magnon has been
he's
so
had some
good, so good.
he's had some
And
great
yes, yeah, I
performances.
mean, against Bayern, yeah, a lot of chances. If it's not for him, we probably concede a few more. He's
Yeah,
been very solid. But yeah, point here would have been good. First, take 2 points away from Bayern, who could have been, might become in the competition. I think it would probably be fine on the upper end of that, of the table. But would have been good. And obviously, would have given us a few more chances to slip up against, you know, one of the smaller teams. You know, it's very Milan-like to go against Bratislava and draw instead of take away all 3 points. But that's about it. In terms of subs, because I wanted to go back to that. So obviously now he's found 11 players that play in the position that he wants as he likes. He's somehow convinced Morata to fight hard and play as that second striker cam. But now we look very short on subs. Obviously, Jovic is not the ideal if you're playing him as main striker. Chukwueze, now he's been playing so little. I see a lot of hate. I see that maybe Milan is also considering in January if some Arab team might come with 18, 20 million to already give up
I
on him.
also saw Atletico Madrid and West Ham were also potentially interested. I don't know; those could be loose rumors. Yeah,
We
no,
so that's the striker role maybe not so covered, the right wing role not so covered, the cam that's supposed to come in for Morata is Loftus-Cheek clearly does not seem to fight. Again, we don't need him to be particularly good, like give that much quality. We just need him to actually hustle and have grit, and he doesn't seem ready. Okafor, too soon to be seen, but doesn't seem to be that trusted by Fonseca. Midfielders, that's it. I mean, we talked about Loftus-Cheek, who could play CDM as well, but he's not shining. Musa doesn't seem to get playing time. In the back, obviously, we have no Teo sub. Pavlovic probably will be fine to come in. Remains to be seen what it is of Chow, who just started training again. And yeah, I mean,
yeah.
Calab and Emerson around, pick your poison. How much trouble do you think we are in a European season that is longer than usual, in a tough Serie A battle,
Yeah,
because there's going to be a lot of teams involved with that top four. Some of them, like Napoli, don't have the European challenge. How tough is it for us, you think, with these subs? And do you think we can, you know, slowly rescue them one at a time? Rescue them, by that I mean, okay, let's give with the starters Chuk a little bit more time and see if he can get going, or let's try Musa at that cam position because he's got a little bit
yeah.
more run and physicality.
Yeah, no, I think I agree with your assessment that it is looking shaky, and now that the games are coming thick and fast, even with international break, I mean, a lot of our players, while it's not perhaps playing for the top nations, they will probably be playing a fair bit when going off to their respective countries. Um, Chukwueze, yes, getting a lot of hate. I feel like he's in the exact same spot as he was a year ago. You know, he wasn't playing much. He came in with just 5-10 minutes, and sometimes when he got a break, I don't know, in for at least one half, he wasn't playing great. And he grew into the season last year, became better, and we sort of saw that Villarreal Chukwueze that, I mean, I can't say I watched La Liga, but all the welcome to Milan YouTube videos and sort of some of the statistics whereby he was the third most successful dribbler in the whole of La Liga. that's not nothing, you know. Um, but I think with him again, he needs to get more playing time. But unfortunately, the way we started the season with, and then now playing against, having played against Liverpool first, then the derby, and then now Bayer Leverkusen, it's not too much room for having our rotational players play like Chukwueze, or having him play at least a half, because we needed to win games so that Fonseca didn't get fired. So I think with him, he needs a bit more playing time whenever that might be.
Yeah,
Okafor, I'm not sure. I'm not sure why he's not trusted. Again, he was muscle fatigued the other week, and we have quite high hopes for Okafor, because the few times he has shown us that he can play really well. But
yeah,
again,
always had
it's
an
hard to get
impact.
him in. He has, I think, somewhat of the similar situation with Chukwueze, whereby he might not just need more time, more consistently, rather than being the super sub. Which it's great to have a super sub, but as what, a 22-year-old player, I don't think you're happy just being a super sub.
Yeah, I think there's a few things. I think both of them have the similar struggle of being stuck behind a much firm starter. Okafor was always going to be the case because Leao plays unless we're up or down in a game by a large margin, and that's quite tough. Chuk was supposed to have a little bit more lay room and kind of play for that starter role with Pulisic until Pulisic has done Pulisic things last year, but also the beginning of this year. He's become, unquestionable in terms of the
Yeah,
starting 11. Um, so those have been a little bit their bad luck. Chuk is a little bit weird because it seemed that Fonseca was so fond of him
in
in the
preseason.
summer. I think there's a few things that Fonseca needs to figure out, and both come with risk. I think both of them could play with Leao and Pulisic, so this would involve doing what we did with Torino, for example, put Pulisic at cam and Chukwueze on the right. Now, obviously, that's very tricky because all of a sudden you're very undersized, and you need Pulisic to run a lot, which I think you can count on and press successfully, but also the same for Chukwueze, who, much like Leao, doesn't like to do that and is also on the smaller side. So again, do you risk then exposing yourself to a game like Torino where you have that sort of firepower up front, but you don't really get to use it because maybe in Serie A there's not that much space. A lot of these teams are defending against you and you're exposed at the back. Or maybe try with Okafor. We do see that he likes to play on the left. But maybe he can be, that like Morata is doing and then fall back. I think going forward with the ball, he's quite good playing off a main striker anyway. The question is he ready also to run a lot and press like Morata has been doing? So figuring out one, if not both of those, would be key for Fonseca. Otherwise, we'd love to check is baffling because again we don't need him to bring that much quality. We need him to be like Kessie at the Scudetto. You just run a lot and put your body in. Like he did like last year against PSG. That version of Loftus-Cheek is so far away
Yeah,
where he bossed the midfielder and players were bouncing off of him. And he doesn't seem willing to do that, which is a little bit strange. But we need at least one of those to be figured out. And if it's not that, then maybe it's Musa. I don't know what the plan is for Musa, but he's got physicality and he's got stamina. We just need someone to bring something off the bench, because the season is long. The European commitments will stack up in a longer European season this year, and we just need to have options, because we need basically Morata and Abraham to be not the pitch at the same time the whole time, but actually being the sub for the other. Who do you
yeah.
think eventually will be able to, out of this, let's say Musa, Loftus-Cheek, Chuk, and Okafor, who do you think is closer to potentially bringing something off the bench that's real and being trusted by Fonseca?
I think out of those players who perhaps bring some more energy, I think it still has to be Okafor.
Yeah, I
Wouldn't
think
you?
I think Chukwueze is more closer to a finished product.
Yeah,
But I mean Okafor has always had an impact. We are in Switzerland, both you and I, so always root for the Swiss man. Before
Yep.
we move on to Fiorentina, because we've been talking for a while now, I do want to get to the prediction, but also just to look ahead. Just a quick acknowledgement of the chat. Shout out 69 Nishan 420, who's talking about Pulisic. I would say Pulisic.
Seems familiar, that name. I'm not sure why.
Yeah, I think he's been lurking in the chat before.
Big
But
lurker,
shout out
yeah.
for you for listening to us late at night. He's talking about Christian Pulisic being regarded as LeBron James of soccer. I think he is. Captain America, the Tiger.
Yeah.
He is the chosen one. Simple as that.
Yeah.
Pulisic is the
Yeah.
truth. I will listen to nothing else. He will lead the United States to World Cup glory eventually with Pochettino, and he is my goat. Simple
Well, I
as
mean,
that.
if you looked at the U.S. and their success in the Olympics this summer, I don't think the final was a fantastic performance of LeBron James. I think you could credit that more to Stephen Curry, or Steph Curry rather. So yeah,
Yeah,
I
and I'd
guess I
say
guess
Steph
you're
Curry
the big
is
basketball guy.
Reinders, so it's a blessing that we have both.
True.
And
Yeah,
obviously, international break coming up, we will have a special U.S. correspondent to talk about the performance of the U.S. national team, because God knows I won't be watching live with the time zone, the U.S. and whoever they
who
play.
are they? I'm not even sure who they're playing.
I do not know, but I
Would it
will
be
be
a good
wagered
game
to
to
say
watch?
that wouldn't be thrilling games.
You don't think it's
U.S.
gonna be a thrilling game? No.
Let's see.
Anyways, it doesn't matter. Yeah, no, it'd be great to have somebody else on the podcast. Not that I'm tired and sick and tired of hearing your voice,
Wow. They play
but
Panama and
instead,
then Mexico in friendly games, so all
yeah, no,
central.
Mexico is going in a downward spiral. That national team hasn't evolved the way I thought it would have. Not that I'm a
Yes, but those are
big
always interesting
Mexico
game
watcher,
between them
but
and the US. They get a little bit of that rivalry. But we're way too far into this podcast. We both need to go. So let's talk about Fiorentina coming up.
yep,
I wonder how much
yep,
it will change. Probably not that much. Fiorentina has had some struggles of their own. There's
they have.
questions about if Palladino is the man for the job, if he can do it. They come from a 0-0 draw against Empoli. They did beat Lazio before that. They lost against Atalanta. They drew against Monza. So they're a little bit all over the place. They seem to
And
struggle to
it's
score.
currently 0-0 in the 58th minute against God knows what that team is. Oh, it's a
The
Welsh team,
TNS, the
TNS,
new Saints. Yes, I had to look this
the
up.
new Saints. Yeah,
They're fifth currently in the Wealth Division, but somehow with 3 games played less than the first team play. So I guess they could be. I don't know why they played 3 games less. Apologies to our many Welsh fans that are following AC Milan from Wales. Good luck
big
to you up
apologies.
there. It is, yeah, they've played some subs because they're playing the new Saints. But still, at least they're busy playing on a Thursday, which should at least give us some hope that we're not going to be only the one with tired legs, even though they could rotate a little bit more.
Fun fun fact about TNS, just quickly, completely off topic. We actually came up in a lecture of mine today. Now that I think about it, they're one of
How?
the only teams in Europe, or at least in Europe, that actually don't play in their own country. So their stadium is actually based in England, just across the border from Wales. But they are Welsh, or rather, they play in the Welsh league.
That's wild. I wish
Understand?
Fiorentina was playing up there right now, because it would be great to travel. But they're not. They are in Firenze. This is a game that, again, we need to win just to keep up with the general state of Serie A. Obviously, Yassin Adli will be returning. Are we playing in San Siro? Actually, I don't remember. Let me see. We're playing in Firenze, so we'll be facing against Yassin Adli. I'll be curious to see who plays. I don't know if I don't know the conditions of Morata quite yet. He didn't play a lot, but he did come in. Based on the general vibe, I would be willing to bet right before an international break that the formation won't change too much. I think we have a chance to see Pavlovic maybe start, depending, maybe Calabria, see how he's feeling. But Fofana, who was great, we didn't talk about him by Leverkusen, but he was great. He was really coming into his stride, and he's a must-have for our midfield. Reinders will play, Leao will play, Pulisic will play. Probably Tammy and Morata. Maybe we'll see Loftus-Cheek again, or maybe we do try get a bit more offensive. We'll see. It's a must-win to keep up with Serie A. I had a question. Again, we're staying a little bit more general, but I'm curious to pick your mind on this. Who do you think will end up top four of Serie A?
Top four. Oof. I think Milan, Inter, Juve, Napoli. Not in that specific order, but
Yeah, I mean those are the big four with
yeah,
your Atalanta, Lazio, Roma, looking on. And who do you think is the favorite for the Scudetto? Because before when we started the league, I would have said Inter. Um, Now we have some interesting team.
yeah,
Juve looks still in the process of figuring out Motta, sure, but they
hmm,
don't concede. And when I mean don't
yeah.
concede,
I
of course
know.
they don't concede goals. They don't concede shots. They have less shots conceded against than Atalanta's goals conceded against since the beginning of the season. You're gonna get far
Yeah,
in the league, no matter how poor you are going up, going forward, if you just don't concede that much at all. Um, they do have Europe, and Bremer did actually
he
get
tore his
injured and is
ACL.
ruled out for a season. He was massive to start the season for them. He was great. But they look like they're not going to go away, even if they don't win it. Inter is going to be Inter. And Napoli, rough start, but they've sorted out. We know how
Well,
Conte is,
but
and they don't
again, I
have
don't
Europe.
think they've not that Milan has had apart from Inter particularly big games, but I think Napoli hasn't had a run of quite have had quite an easy run of games if I'm mistaken, apart from that Juventus
Yeah.
game. So that's why people are still a bit skeptical about them.
But if
But
there's a
again,
coach
like you said,
that
no Europe.
Yeah, if there's a coach that is great at playing direct big matchups, especially when you have a whole week to plan them, it is Antonio Conte. Nishan again saying Napoli look like the team to beat in his opinion, especially once they integrate Scott McTominay into their team. I sense a little bit of sarcasm from a Premier League fan, but you, Nishan, Ozzy, if you haven't, and anyone watching, watch some Napoli games. McTominay is great. I'm not even joking. He's great. United are idiots. I don't know why you pay so much money for Ugarte. McTominay is great. Is he gonna, be the player that you drop into a Real Madrid team and carries the midfield by himself? Of course not.
Nope.
He is great. Nishan saying
He's
is
better.
the
He's better than Casemiro.
he's better than
Casemiro
Casemiro
is
right
still
now.
playing.
I we willing to bet he's better than Ugarte right now, and he was bought for a lot more money. He's saying he's
Yeah,
the
it
perfect
is.
Conte player, absolutely, especially the way Conte plays, which is hey, you just run until you're basically dead. You do like three things I tell you. You just focus on doing those over and over. Yeah, he looks complete. Another proof that United is all over the place and
And
where
it's I
talent
thought it was
gets
quite
sent to
funny.
die. Yes, and
Nishan was mentioning the integration of Scott McTominay into the team. He's definitely integrated with the fans because some of the Napoli fans have somehow come across, finally after a few weeks, come across McTominay's girlfriend or partner, and they were quite excited to say the least. Those
yes, there were
Neapolitan
big fans,
animals.
and he's kissing the badge. So, yeah, I mean, perfect situation for him. Yeah, Napoli is interesting. Again, you're totally right in the sense of hey, let's see him against the only good game, the
Yeah,
only important game that they've had against Juve, which ended up terribly boring 0-0. Um, but yeah, no, Europe will be huge, is always huge, and will be even bigger this season with more games. But yeah, I think I rambled too much. I didn't let you answer. Who's the favorite Scudetto? I would have said beginning of the year Inter. Now it might be Napoli, but I'm not even sure myself. What do you think?
I think Milan. No, on a serious note, I think to be honest, Juve are looking quite good, man. Like you said, the conceding, like defending is, I shouldn't say win or lose if whether you have a good defense, you can always outscore your opponent. But that having found that so quickly
Yeah,
is fantastic.
yeah,
And you saw Vlahovic scoring twice in the Champions League. Now as soon as
yeah.
if Vlahovic
Plus
sort of
last
gets up
weekend.
to yeah, exactly. Like if he gets up and running,
Yeah.
you know,
If you don't concede
Conceição,
shots and you can count on Vlahovic scoring your usual, 20 to
yeah,
25 goals, it's gonna be tough to keep you from at least
exactly.
contending for the title for sure. Um, then I think
Predictions for the Fiorentina game?
yes, let's do that because then we both have to go. It's tough to say which Milan you get these days. It smells like a draw to me. It just seems like both teams will be cautious. Will maybe throw like a classic maybe 1-1. But I will say 2-0 us, clean sheet.
I'm not no way you're gonna go for the same.
We're
I
too
was gonna go.
connected.
I
This
thought you
is
were
why
gonna
we
go
need
for
our
a
American
draw.
correspondent to break
I
our
thought you were
tie
gonna go for a
breaks.
draw. You were starting off with a draw there, so I was excited to be able to have a different scoreline because we said 3-2 for Milan against Bayer, Leverkusen. Right, I'm
God,
gonna have
was
to
I
switch it
wrong?
up. I'm gonna say 2-1. Let's say we're gonna concede.
2-1.
It's gonna be
Okay.
a Biragi free kick from about 40 meters out.
Oh, Biragi does score winners. Nishan
Yeah.
also says 2-1, so he agrees with you. You say Biragi. If I had to pick any scorer, I'll go from us. I'll say Tijani Reinders gets a goal after missing the big chance
Okay.
against Bayern. Yeah, we'll see that. Obviously, then it's international break. We'll do definitely a podcast for Fiorentina game later in the week, and then maybe we'll throw in a fun one if we have more time during to try to bear with the boringness of international break. Thank you for discussing and the usual Milan therapy session. And yeah, thank you for everyone listening, and we'll see you after the Fiorentina game.
Thank you, Stefano. Bye, guys.